Managing a small team or business comes with a unique set of challenges. With limited resources and manpower, it's easy for things to feel chaotic and out of your control. How can you, as a leader, accomplish your goals while keeping your team engaged, effective, and accountable? This podcast will give you practical strategies you can implement now to lead your team or business to reach its fullest potential. Welcome to the Organizing Chaos podcast with your host, Danny Coleman.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Organizing Chaos, where we talk about small practical strategies for small teams and small businesses. Today, I have Miss Jennifer Kerr with me today, owner of Windmill Bakery and Deli 31 here located in Columbia, Tennessee. Two awesome establishments with fantastic consumables that you can have there. And awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Danny, for bringing me on.
Totally. So, how did you decide? So we'll start with Windmill, since that one opened first, Windmill Bakery.
Yes.
How did you come to the decision, or the idea of hey, I think that I like baking, or I think I like doing this enough, so I want to open up a bakery?
So I grew up baking. I've been baking probably since I was around 7, 8.
Okay.
Grew up doing it. My mom, my grandmother taught me a lot of everything that I know. Grew up putting stuff in the fair when it come time for fair time. And it was always something that I had a passion for doing. I enjoyed doing it. And I enjoyed the science behind baking. I wanted to know how it worked, what can make this do this, experimenting with things. And I decided to go to culinary school and went away to Louisville, Kentucky, to Sullivan University.
Now, were you growing up here?
I grew up in Columbia.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
Born and raised in Columbia, seen the good, the bad, all the changes throughout the years.
Yeah.
And so Sullivan had come down to Columbia Academy, where I went to school at. They did a presentation my senior year, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. And after about a year and a half at Columbia State on a softball scholarship, I just couldn't do it anymore, and I said, I think I want to go to culinary school.
That's awesome.
So off I went away to Kentucky and finished the program in about 15 months, and got through it there. Worked at Opryland for a little bit, but I didn't feel valued there. So I left and went to Publix. I was told, hey, go to Publix. It's a great company. Go work for them, And so off I went and was in management within a year. I enjoyed being there. I was doing everything from baking to decorating. And over the years, after about 10 years being in management, the corporate world was no longer for me. And I had moved to Georgia for a little bit, and I decided, I think it's time to go back home. I want to go back to Columbia, and I want to start my own bakery. And I had a person that stood behind me who said, you can do this, you've got this, Columbia's ready for it. And it was something that Columbia didn't have.
Yeah.
We had Kroger's, we had Walmart,
right,
and we have the little bread bakery up there.
Yeah.
Off of
I know there
James
is
Campbell.
one, but I've not been to it.
But we had Columbia in itself didn't have a bakery. It hasn't had a bakery since, I want to say, about the 50s or 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it was like, it's time.
Yeah.
Let's bring something to Columbia that they don't have. Fresh baked bread, fresh baked pastries, cakes, wedding cakes, gluten-free. That was another push behind it, was the gluten-free, and the option of being able to make that and sell it to our customers was just a big push behind why we did it.
Do you have a gluten allergy? Is it particular?
I don't have a gluten allergy. It was probably about 8-9 years ago. There was a girl that I went to high school with and graduated with, and she called me up and she said, Jennifer, I'm getting married, but she said, I have celiacs, which is I'm allergic to gluten. She said, if you can't make me a wedding cake, I won't have one. And so that just kind of hit in the heart. You know, what girl doesn't want to have a cake on her wedding day?
Right, yeah.
So she gave me a few recipes. We started playing around with them, and we started developing a cake recipe, made her wedding cake, turned out great. And then from there, we just started playing a little bit more, started meeting new people. People found out that we would bake gluten-free from home, and, we had, between my mom and I, there was separate utensils, separate everything to do all the gluten-free for her. And it has now exploded into this massive market.
Yeah.
That either people have celiac, so they have a wheat allergy.
Yeah.
Or they just want to eat gluten-free. Like, I prefer to eat gluten-free because of how my body feels from it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have aches and pains.
I think I do.
But, it's just been an explosive market, and the joy that I get when people come in and they see the case and they're like, this entire case is gluten-free. We're like, yeah. And they're like, well, everything tastes like cardboard. I was like, have you tried our stuff?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And so people will try it and they're like, oh my gosh, that was the most amazing muffin.
Yeah.
Or that cake's gluten-free. We're like, yeah. And they're like, I never would have thought about it. And there's people that will come in that don't have a gluten allergy and they will only eat gluten-free because of how good it tastes.
Yeah.
And being able to provide that to somebody
Yeah.
who is used to eating dry cornbread stuff, that really hits home, because then you feel like I'm doing something for somebody that brings them happiness because it's something they don't normally get to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's really what pushes me to continue going and developing new products, is because I can help somebody when they feel like there's nothing else they can do.
That's awesome. First of all, it's a really cool story to have behind why you do the gluten-free stuff. But also, I'd never really had good stuff that I was like, I always was like, if I'm gonna do something gluten-free, I'm like sacrificing. And your stuff's good. So, all right. So how did you've got Windmill Bakery, you started it up, things were going well. What then possessed you to start another business down the road? Deli 31.
Oh, Deli 31. So the idea for a deli came about a year to year and a half after the bakery was opened. We had so many people pushing for savory items, or they would come in and, do you have sandwiches? Do you have soup? What do you have for lunch? And we're like, we don't have anything. We've got our quiche, or we were doing soup for a while and doing our soup in bread bowls.
That was
but
good too.
There was, it was really good. But it was just, we didn't have the space to be able to do sandwiches and provide more of a savory or a lunch option to people. They really wanted it. And of course, then yet there was nothing else in Columbia that was really like that.
Yeah.
We had a few places, but nothing that was not chain or anything that could provide fresh baked bread daily, a menu of sandwiches. Boar's Head meat and cheese products. Soon we're going to be able to sell it by the pound. So you can come in, walk in, get your Boar's Head meat and cheese by the pound. And it was something else that we wanted to bring small business to Columbia that was family oriented. People could come in, get their sandwich, get their salad or their hot dog. If you haven't had the hot dog, you
I haven't had it yet.
Dude, you got to go try the hot dog.
I will. I'm hungry now. I think I did skip lunch, so.
And you're interviewing me and skipped lunch.
Yeah, just I knew that I'd be even hungrier after this episode because we would talk about food.
But bringing something else that, like I said, family oriented, people can come in, sit down.
Yeah.
They pulled tables together and make room for big groups, and that was something else that I wanted. Or you can grab a beer, craft beer on tap, and not feel so guilty about sitting down and eating, having your kid there.
Yeah.
And drinking a cold one.
Right.
So, if something, once again, Columbia didn't have it.
Right.
We are growing, and the environment in Columbia is more of our people would rather have a small business than a chain.
Yeah.
So that was another factor that kind of drove us to try to get Deli 31 opened, to where we were bringing something else new to Columbia, something that people could enjoy. And then you're getting fresh baked bread, fresh baked desserts, and good food.
So what's been the hard part? Though, I mean, so you got two businesses already. So I know that you're busy. We talked about that before the call. What's been the hardest thing about getting these up off the ground and, successful?
There's not two of me. Thankfully, I will say that my father has been a backbone for a lot of getting both places up and going. He retired out a little bit early from here in Columbia, And he's been the one that's kind of been like the project manager. He takes care of everything. He relates to me everything that I need to know, lets me know what's going on. I tell him where we need to go, the whole design concept.
Yeah.
Because I designed, decorated both spaces inside and out. So it's kind of one of those, he's been the backbone and he's helped do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely thankful for him. And I'm not a really good delegator. That is a downfall. I've learned over the last year, though, that it's extremely important to be able to delegate.
Yeah.
I have a business coach that I talk to.
That's awesome.
Very frequently. Yeah. It's very important to have a business coach. Like, no shame in the game.
Yeah,
It's always important to have somebody else to bounce those ideas off of that can help you see something that you may not always be able to see.
Yeah.
And help give you those ideas or be like, hey, why don't you try this? Or this is a great flow, how you've got it set up, but what if you move this and did this here?
Yeah.
So having another set of eyes to be able to help you see other stuff and to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody, amazing. No shame in the game. Like, do it. But
hopefully everybody listening hears that and maybe they know a good business coach.
I hope so. If not, just shout out to Danny. I will give you the name of mine. He's amazing. Or not, just use Danny. But it's one of those, you have to learn to delegate.
Yeah.
As hard as it is, I always wanted my hand in every single cookie jar.
Yeah.
And eventually you learn that there's too many cookie jars and not enough hands.
Yeah.
There's a reason God gave you two, and that's it. So learning to delegate and learning what was important and what I could delegate and what I needed to take care of myself. And when it came time to delegate, communication was key. Like, if you can't communicate, then you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure that the person you're communicating to, that y'all can see eye to eye. And when you communicate, they understand. And you may have to be like, all right, so repeat back to me what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then that way, like, there's no excuses. There's no dead communication. Everybody knows what needs to be done. And then they know what's expected of them.
Yeah.
And so nobody's dropping the ball.
That's awesome. Like, you need to be teaching people around here. Like, I'm telling you, like, just what you said right now. Like, I have nothing to add. Like, this is exactly what I try to help people with. Is so many people don't get those concepts, and probably a big part of it, I'm sure, like you said, like having a coach, that objective third party is huge. And yeah, so good for you for making these realizations, especially sooner in life rather than later. A lot of people might not get that until they're old.
Like, you can't wait.
Yeah.
I've learned through experience, and I've learned the hard way. So that's why I just, step back and was like, all right, let me start talking to somebody. Let me get a coach. And then let me start delegating, because I can't do it all on my own.
Right.
As much as I think I can, I can't.
Yeah.
So what things can I delegate? What things do I absolutely have to do? And just know that I have faith in my employees or my manager that runs the deli. Like, they're going to be able to do the job of what I need for them to do and move forward.
So yeah, like one of the things that you mentioned, like how your dad's helped you. So, and you might have heard me talk about this before, but just to kind of sum it up, I know people who've listened to this podcast know about this, but I talk about the visionary and the integrator. The other visionary is the person with the idea, is like 99% of the time the business starter. And they literally are like unrealistic, but they need to be unrealistic because they're willing something into existence that wasn't real, wasn't there. There was no Windmill Bakery before. There was no Deli 31 before. So you brought it into existence. So you have to stay a little bit unrealistic in order to really provide the value that you bring. And then you need to have an integrator or a general manager type, since it sounds like this is your dad for you, who takes that and like turns it into real like action items and things that actually brings it into the world.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to divide those two things is really important. So it sounds like you were fortunate and you had someone like that, kind of starting off. But like, what do you see? Or I guess, do you have any advice or anything like that for telling people if they need to go find their integrator or their, like your dad is to you? Like, how would you describe maybe your dad and like how they can find that person and how to help them?
Well, I won't lie. There was a lot of headbutting between opening both businesses. And it was, I see like this huge idea and I have these plans, and he's like, all right, now back it back a little bit and think realistically. Here's our budget, this is what we have, and this is what we need to work with. And I'm like, but we really need this. So it's like you had to find that line of, somebody had to say, reel you back in. You're kind of like that fish on the hook, that you're fighting, wanting to be reeled in. But
Right.
somebody's got to be able to reel you in and be like, all right, so is it really necessary? We didn't start off with everything that we needed. We started off with what we absolutely had to have to get the doors open, to start being able to take care of people. When we opened, we were rolling out cinnamon rolls by hand and selling about 50 cinnamon rolls a day on average. And we made them every day. So that was a lot of intense labor. And then finally, after time, we were able to buy a piece of equipment that sheeted out the dough for us, cut the time by, more than half.
Yeah.
But, you have to find somebody that's going to, one, you're going to be able to work with, and know that you may butt heads from time to time, but in the end, you're going to be able to sit down like two business partners and somebody that's going to be able to say, okay, this is what you want, this is what we need, how can we meet in the middle, compromise, and do what needs to be best for the business and move forward. Thankfully, I had my dad.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that person.
How would you describe him? For someone to kind of find someone like that for them.
Someone who already has business experience, if possible.
Yeah.
Management experience. My dad already had 25 years of business experience and had a business partner for 20 plus years. So he already knew what it was like to work with somebody, to bounce ideas off of somebody, and to run that business and know, okay, there's going to be hard times, there's going to be good times, and during the good times, enjoy it, save your money, put it back, because when the hard times come, you're going to need that nest egg that you've put back.
Yeah.
And he already knew how to work with employees, how to handle situations. And I had that experience too from being in the corporate world, but not as much of when it comes to small business.
Yeah.
And corporate versus small business, it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, and if you're leading the ship and in the business, it's hard for you to slow down, and you have to come back down and deal with that sort of stuff. So even though, like, in the other place you had experience with it, when you were at the front of the business, it wasn't you who needed to be dealing with, whatever personnel problems and things like that, or whatever, some of the stuff that sounds like your dad might have done.
He did that, and eventually I started delegating a few more things out to him. We do a lot of wholesale with local accounts, and I was like, all right, let me teach you how to invoice. Let me teach you how to do this. And then it was one less thing that I had to do, and then I could start focusing more on what direction do we want the bakery to move.
Yeah.
What new things do we want to do? What can we do, to help our customers a little bit more? Or with the deli, all right, what sandwiches do we want to do? Let's develop the menu. That was probably one of the hardest but funnest things to do. And then naming everything on the menu, you got to give it a name.
Yeah, I am not good at that sort of thing.
Me either. But I think they just eventually come to you when you least expect it.
Your names for the Deli 31 stuff are good. I remember the one I had. I remember just being impressed by it, being like, "That's good."
There's so many out there, and I feel like whatever you name it, it's got to somewhat relay to what the sandwich is, what's on it. We decided to do a sandwich of the month, and I asked all my employees. I said, I want you to put together a sandwich with our boar's head meat and cheese. You got to use either their hummus or one of their sauces that they have. Develop the sandwich, what type of bread you want it on, and then name it. And my employees did a great job of giving me sandwiches, but about 3 of them didn't have names. So as they started coming in, and we're like, oh, this one's good, we're going to pick this one for this month. Oh, it doesn't have a name. Okay, so what are we going to do? Like, this sandwich of the month is the Chipotle Clucking Pig. Crazy weird name, but it involves the Chipotle gourmets. It involves chicken with bacon, and it's hot pressed. So
that sounds delicious.
So you get the Chipotle Clucking.
Is that the one of the month right now?
That's the one of the month right
Sweet.
now. Next month,
I'm gonna go down there after this.
Like, it's so good, but it's the weirder the name,
Yeah.
the more people are gonna remember it. The one that I hate the worst probably is the one that my sister named. Because we sat down, we test ran the sandwiches multiple times, started naming them, and my sister would throw this out. I'm like, I don't think so. She'd be like, call it the Mary Special. I'm like, we're not naming it after you. So, but we got to one, and she goes, oh, you got to call it this, which was our bologna sandwich. Board said, all beef bologna. Love it. She goes, you got to call it the hog slop special, hold the hog. And I was like, are you serious? She goes, it's all beef bologna, right? And I was like, yes. And I was like, that is such a weird name. She goes, but people are going to remember it. She goes, say it fast. Hog slop special, hold the hog. And she's like, just throws that country accent in there. And I'm like, oh, geez. I guess we're going to name it that.
That's so good. Okay, so that makes me want to ask you this. Now, working with family, that's a thing that happens a lot in small business. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's not so good. So how do you kind of manage that and get the best out of it? But I guess you can talk about the pros and cons of it, because let's be honest, there are cons too, but there are a lot of pros as well. So can you speak to that at all?
There's pros and cons. Pros, you don't always have to pay them. And they're usually more available, and they will have just as much passion as what the business owner has in it, just because they know how much is invested in the business.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're willing to give it their all just as much as the business owner is. Cons is it's your family.
Yeah.
If there's riffraff or you don't always see eye to eye, there are times of confrontation. There are arguments. And the worst part is sometimes it happens right in the business, and it's so hard to keep it out of the eye of your employees.
Yeah. Where
it's just like you have to say, all right, we're going to have talks, we're going to have conversations, but it's not going to be inside the business. Like, it won't be inside the bakery. We're going to leave, we're going to go have lunch, and we're going to sit down about everything, and we're going to talk outside of the business.
Yeah.
Because if there's confrontation or if there's something going on, then let's handle it outside the business. It's nothing that the employees need to know.
Yeah.
And they don't need to see you argue whatsoever. So that is a growing pain. And you're like, oh, I'm around my family all the time. And to be from such a really close family, which I am, and I mean, I love my parents to death. They would do anything for my sister or I.
Yeah.
You know, but there's times you're like, I need some time. I need some space.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
But they would do a lot. Like, my dad retired out, and he helped with both businesses. And then up until 2 weeks ago, he had a hip replacement. But he would come in. He would deliver all the wholesale in the morning. We just got that busy that I couldn't escape to go out and deliver.
Yeah.
So he would come in right there around 5:30, 5:45, make sure everything was loaded up, drive to all of our wholesale businesses and deliver, and come back and help work the front when needed. And he's a salesperson, so you know, when you're in insurance, you know, you're usually a salesperson. So he was always like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Or before we open the deli, or right after we open, have you been to Deli 31? Have you heard about Deli 31?
Yeah.
You've got to go try this out. You know, he just couldn't wait to tell the next person. And, I mean, he knows a lot of people. He grew up here in Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, he'll see a lot of people he grew up with or went to school with. And he'd be like, hey, thank you for coming in. We're so glad you came in. Try this out. Hey, don't forget to go to Deli 31. She makes all the bread fresh every morning, sends it up there. You won't be disappointed. So he's kind of like that rolling billboard. He never shuts up about it. So I don't have to pay for a whole lot of marketing and advertising.
Yeah, I've heard him pitching it before, and I've seen him around, like, doing the wholesalers. I'm like, that's got to be Jen's dad, because I see him and it kind of looks like Jen.
Sometimes I'm surprised people don't pay him to shut up. Like, I've had to pull him to the back, and I'm like, all right, so after like the fourth time you stop talking, and then restart it, I was like, that's enough. I said, say your pitch, tell people what they need to know, and then shut it off and be like, thank you. We hope you enjoy. Go try it out. Come back and let us know. And that's one key thing. Being a small business, and I have learned, you always have to let the customer know, like, you value their opinion, and you want to know what they think. So you can't wait for somebody to go to Google, go to Facebook, go somewhere and leave you a review. Like, come back and tell me. Send me an email. Pick up the phone. Call me.
Yeah.
I want to know what you thought about it. And if you weren't happy, what can I do to make it right? But more of, I want to know what you think about it. That tells the customer right there, she really cares about this. Or that business owner really cares about their business and really cares about what they're selling me. And they want to make sure that I truly enjoy it.
This is good. I mean, I'm telling you, you need to be like teaching other people because there's a lot of people who don't get these concepts, and it's hard. In small business, your resources are so limited.
They are.
That you get stretched in every which way. It's difficult to really take a lot of time out to learn or to educate or to improve or to seek objective like advice and stuff like that. So really, I'm not joking. We'll talk more about this afterwards. I have some opportunities I think for you, but we're kind of getting to the point where we're winding stuff up.
Okay.
I want to see, is there anything else on your radar right now? Any kind of new other things that you would be okay talking about maybe coming in the future for you?
Oh, man. Where's the next location going? No. No more. So many people ask that question, and I think right now we're happy with 2 locations. Maybe expansion in the future. If not, I'm truly happy with where we're at right now, and being able to work with other small businesses. Most of all the places that we wholesale to are all local businesses within 10 to 15 miles from where we're located. And I enjoy that instead of having to open another business and worrying about how am I going to staff it? How am I going to make sure that it's ran right? Yeah. You know, I can sell our stuff and know that customers are enjoying our pastries, our baked goods, and at somebody else's location. Yeah. And I'm not having to run it. That may sound cruel. But
no, it's good. That's scalability. That's what that is.
It's, I mean, and that's a great thing about being in the world of baking and pastries and stuff like that. There's always going to be a demand for it. And there's always going to be other people that have come in, other people that are going to open up new shops. And that's one great thing about being small businesses. You can allow for that. Yeah. Everybody's going to do their own thing. And that's what we love about it. So I wouldn't change it. I don't know where we're going to be at in the future, what our plans are, but there may be a few things up the sleeve coming.
Word. All right, cool. Yeah, keep me in the loop. All right, so what is, if you had like one thing that you could tell other entrepreneurs or business owners, like, hey, here's something that you should do that'd be really helpful. I mean, you mentioned the business coach thing earlier. You can pick that if you want, but is there anything else that you might want to suggest, or you can, again, reiterate the business coach thing, something really helpful for them to do?
The business coach is really important. I also think when you when you have an idea and you want to do a business, I think it's extremely important to do your research. Before we opened the bakery, when we were in the layout process, because we took the entire building down to 4 walls, we went and toured about 8 different bakeries and coffee shops. We wanted to see everybody's setup. What type of equipment did they use? What did they sell? I'm a very big research person, so I want to know the ins, the outs. What's everybody using? What are they selling? And I think it's very important. You have to do that research. You have to make sure that you know your demographics. You know especially where you're going. Make sure that the people that you want to cater to is that there's a market for that. Don't be like, well, I'm really good at this, but nobody's going to buy it.
Right, yeah.
So do your research. Know where you want to be. Check out your demographics. Make sure your market is there. And when it comes time to finding employees, you have to make sure you find the right ones. Don't be very quick to hire. I usually will hire 1 out of every 3 people that I interview. And I think it's important to interview multiple people. And you can't just look at somebody and be like, I don't know. A lot of times there's that personality that's hiding deep down inside. And you just have to know, what are they going to bring to your business? It's like, you don't want to say, how can I use this person? What's this person going to bring to my business? How can they add value to the business that I own? It's all important stuff. Have your business coach, and then just make sure that you run it right.
Awesome. That's really good stuff. Honestly, this has gone so well. You had so much wisdom to share. And
thank you.
Is there anything coming up you want to shout out about? Like any events or anything like that, or anything you want people to be aware of?
Local people, Mule Day is coming up.
Yeah.
I used to escape from Mule Day. Now I have no choice or option.
You have to embrace it.
We have to embrace it 100%. Hopefully we'll have beautiful weather this year. Deli 31 is located in New South Marketplace, and we're planning this big shindig down there. So we're going to be blocking off part of the parking lot. We're going to have live music and games. Deli 31 is doing a special on growler fills.
Sweet.
Yes, and we carry a few beers that you can't find anywhere else. And then we actually have Clydesdales coming in. So
Who?
We have
Clydesdales?
Clydesdales coming
What?
in. We are so stoked that there's a gentleman just north of Dixon here in Tennessee, and he has a horse farm with Clydesdales on it. About 20 of them, I'm pretty sure, and most of them have been in all the Budweiser commercials.
Oh, wow.
Super sweet, amazing, and we've reached out. He's coming with 2 Clydesdales and a wagon. We're going to do wagon rides, and we're not charging. We're asking for donations. All the money that we take up, we're donating to Best Buddies.
That's awesome.
Here in Columbia. So we're so excited. Once again, giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't necessarily have to go to the park to enjoy Meal Day, but you can come out, spend time with your family, enjoy food with the food trucks, play games, and just be able to spend time with one another and be part of the community, but not necessarily have to spend money, because not everybody can afford to go do that. So we're extremely excited about that.
Sweet. That sounds amazing. What are the website addresses where people can find out more about you?
So our website for the bakery is Windmill Bakery and Coffeeshop.com.
Okay.
Deli 31 is still in the building process right now, as we are looking at online ordering. That's something we want to move towards in the future, but you have to build something about platforms. And I'm not all about the geek and the nerd stuff, but that's why I have a marketing person that does all that for me. But between our POS system and the platform, we have to make sure it gets built correctly.
Word.
But you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. We're on there. You'll see all of our updates, everything we post on there, and we're just excited.
The Windmill Street address, so people can find you.
1018 South Garden Street, Columbia, Tennessee.
Sweet. And Deli 31?
510 North Garden Street, Sweet H.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Danny.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any kind of questions, or you would like to be interviewed on my podcast, you have something of value to share with the small business audience, shoot me an email, danny@dannycoleman.me. You can follow me on Instagram, find out more about my life at @IamDannyColeman. And I would really appreciate your 5-star reviews on iTunes. If you can do that for me, it helps get my message out. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and we will catch you all later. Thanks.
Want more? Go to DannyColeman.me to download Danny's free small business hiring guide, which includes tips, templates, and tools, plus a step-by-step process you can use to find and keep high-quality employees for your small team or business.